Nobody expected to see a little cloud snooping around the park, but there it was, squishing softly over the grass, peeking behind bushes and under benches. This wasn't any ordinary cloud, either. It was Fluff, and Fluff was in a pinch. Sometime during the night, a gusty wind had whisked away Fluff's shiny silver lining, the shimmery edge that made her glow in the moonlight. Without it, she felt gray and lopsided, and sunrise was only a short while away. Fluff tiptoed through the playground, her heart bobbing with hope. Maybe her silver lining was hiding in the sandbox, or tangled in the swings. She asked the sleepy daisies if they had seen anything sparkly, but they just yawned and tucked their petals tight. A squirrel, munching on a late-night snack, pointed toward the pond with its fluffy tail. Fluff thanked him and hurried over, trying not to drip too much dew. At the pond's edge, she saw something glinting atop a cattail. She floated closer, and there it was, her beautiful silver lining, shimmering in the early light. But a little frog had found it first and was using it as a shiny blanket. Fluff watched as the frog snuggled in, looking cozy and safe. For a moment, she wondered if she should just leave it there. But before Fluff could decide, the frog blinked up at her and smiled. "I think this belongs to you," he said, gently unwrapping the silver lining and handing it back. Fluff wrapped herself in her glimmer again, feeling lighter than ever. She thanked the frog and zipped up into the sky, just as the first rays of sun peeked through. The morning was bright, and so was Fluff, her silver lining sparkling for everyone to see. Every night, Maddie watched the moonlight slip through her window and paint silver pictures on her bedroom wall. Sometimes, the moon made a rabbit, sometimes a ship with tall sails, and sometimes a castle complete with shining towers. Maddie liked to guess what the pictures would be, but they always stayed still, letting her dream up their stories before she fell asleep. Tonight was different. Just as Maddie snuggled under her soft blanket, the moon made a picture of a little fox curled up beneath a tree. Maddie blinked, and the fox's tail twitched. The tree's leaves shivered as if a gentle breeze swept through the room. Maddie sat up, her heart thumping with surprise. The moonlight pictures had never moved before. The fox stretched, yawned, and looked straight at Maddie. With a flick of its paw, it beckoned her closer. Maddie slid out of bed, tiptoed to the wall, and reached out her hand. Suddenly, she felt a cool tickle, and the room spun around her like a silver whirlpool. In the blink of an eye, Maddie was standing inside the moonlit world, surrounded by glowing trees and friendly shadows. The fox grinned and asked if she'd like to explore. Together, they skipped between twinkling streams and climbed moonbeam ladders up to the tallest tower of a shimmering castle. Maddie laughed and chased her new friend through magical gardens until she felt her eyes growing heavy. When she blinked again, she was back in her bed, the pictures still and calm on her wall, but with a secret smile. She knew she'd be ready for another adventure whenever the moon decided to paint the night alive.
In the very middle of the night, with only the moon for company, Mimi the mouse woke up because something was tickling her nose. She stretched, yawned, and then noticed something strange. A tiny round door, right in the side of her favorite cheese wheel. The door had a golden knob, and it definitely wasn't there when she went to sleep. Mimi's whiskers twitched with excitement and a little bit of worry. What could be behind a door inside her own cheese? Mimi tiptoed closer, her paws soft and careful. She pressed her ear against the door and listened. Was that the sound of laughter? Or maybe a faint jingle, like tiny bells? Her heart thumped, and her mind filled with pictures of treasure, other mice, or maybe a whole world made of cheese. She looked around her cozy hole, then took a deep breath and turned the knob. The door swung open with a gentle squeak, and a warm, buttery light spilled out. Mimi poked her head through and gasped. On the other side was a magical land with rolling cheese hills, rivers of milk, and crunchy cracker bridges. Mice from all over were playing games, sliding down cheese slopes and nibbling on rainbow sprinkles that fell from the sky. Mimi scampered through the door, her worries forgotten. She joined a group of friendly mice who welcomed her with tiny hats and a slice of moon cheese pie. As Mimi danced and laughed under the twinkling stars of the cheese land, she thought how lucky she was to have found the little door in the middle of the night. Nobody expected to find a dragon when they opened the cupboard to make morning tea, but there it was, a scaly, green creature, no bigger than a kitten, blinking up from inside a blue china teacup. Its wings were still damp, and it sneezed out a tiny puff of smoke that made the family's tabby cat, Mango, leap off the counter in surprise. The dragon looked around, confused but curious, and gave a shaky chirp that sort of sounded like purring. The family quickly made space for their new friend, naming it Pip. Pip watched the cats closely, copying their moves by curling up on sunlit windowsills and batting at dangling shoelaces. Mango and the other cats, Socks and Whiskers, were unsure at first, but Pip seemed determined to fit in. He even tried to lick his scales clean with his long, forked tongue, just like the cats washed their fur. Every day, Pip practiced his cat skills. He tried to land softly when he jumped from the couch, but sometimes his wings would flap open and he'd hover for half a second, surprising everyone, even himself. At dinner time, he would nuzzle up to the food bowls, but instead of crunching kibble, he preferred tiny bits of toast and drops of honey. The cats soon realized Pip made a perfect nap buddy, especially since his warm scales made their sleeping spot extra cozy. One evening, when a loud thunderstorm rattled the windows, Pip huddled under the table with the cats, all of them trembling together. Pip mustered his courage and let out a gentle, glowing puff of fire, lighting up the dark room and making it feel safe and snug. The cats purred their approval, and from that night on, Pip was not just a dragon in a teacup. He was one of the family. The fish blinked their sleepy eyes and gasped. Overnight, their pond had turned bright yellow and smelled sweet. Bubbles fizzed up around them, and Curious Finley took a tiny sip with his mouth. "It's not water anymore," he spluttered, tasting lemon and sugar. The littlest fish, Dot, wondered if swimming in lemonade would make their scales sticky. Nobody wanted to risk getting stuck or turning into lemon-flavored fish food. So, the whole school huddled together, waiting for the sun to fix their pond, while dreaming of water that tasted just like home. Nobody ever asked Socks how it felt to be left alone in the dark under the bed. Tonight, Socks wiggled its toe and decided it was time to find its missing pair, even if that meant crawling past dust bunnies and forgotten toys. Brave and determined, Socks squeezed past the scary shadow of a lost shoe and slid across the cold floor. Under the dresser, Socks spotted a familiar stripe peeking out from behind a puzzle box. With a happy squiggle, Socks reunited with its missing pair and gave a little sock hug. Together, they curled up, cozy and warm, dreaming of their next big adventure.
Nobody in Maplewood Forest could ever guess what was hiding under the old hollow log by the river. Henry, the shy hedgehog, found a pair of bright red boots that sparkled even on cloudy days. When he slipped them on, his feet felt tingly and light as feathers. With a tiny hop, Henry bounced so high he could see the top of the tallest tree and wave at the birds. Every bounce made him giggle, and soon the other animals watched in amazement. Henry wasn't just shy anymore, he was the bravest hopper in the whole forest.
Everyone in Willowbrook wondered why the old oak tree at the end of Maple Lane kept giggling each time the wind danced through its branches. Birds would pause on its limbs, listening to the leafy laughter, but the secret stayed hidden. One blustery afternoon, a squirrel named Pip decided to investigate and scurried up the trunk. Tucked inside a knot, Pip found a small family of ticklish caterpillars who wriggled every time the wind blew. Their squirmy giggles traveled up the tree, making it laugh out loud. From that day on, the townsfolk smiled, knowing the oak's laughter was its way of sharing the caterpillar's secret joy.